Hello Cowboys Nation, welcome to another video, and without further ado, let's get to another round of news from America's team. Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator search is an impressive process so far. The Dallas Cowboys are searching for their fourth defensive coordinator in as many years. To be clear, this is only the third defensive coordinator search that Dallas has been a part of, as Dan Quinn is a part of the in 4 years narrative, but within the 3 searches only 2 have happened with a sitting head coach. The first time was ahead of Mike McCarthy's final season when the team gave him Mike Zimmer, and the second time is now after Brian Schottenheimer's initial campaign. While the Cowboys were looking for a defensive coordinator with a sitting head coach in Mike McCarthy, they were also doing so with the whole world knowing that the season they were looking to hire for was the final one on McCarthy's contract. That lame duck status hung over everyone associated with the 2024 team, but we are not here to discuss that as much as we are to contextualize what the search processes were like relative to one another, and more importantly, how they differ. This whole idea really crystallized for me last week after seeing a tweet from Mauricio Rodriguez. I vividly recall the search that Dallas underwent 2 years ago, but for some reason seeing the names brought it fully to the front of my mind. The most serious candidates who the Cowboys involved for the same level of search 2 years ago were Ron Rivera, Rex Ryan, and the eventual job winner in Mike Zimmer. Keep in mind that at the time too, Ryan and Zimmer had not recently been coaching, and the other was the man who created their need as Dan Quinn took his job in Washington. Conversations around the 2024 team invariably lead to a sweeping under the rug of sorts, and this is no different. The candidates were likely so limited because of the situation with McCarthy. That isn't and wasn't shocking, but it was of the team's own doing. All of this context is important because not only have we seen the names of the aforementioned Jim Leonhard, Durant Jones, and Ephraim Bonda, but the Cowboys' search is pretty expansive at this point as time has passed. Jonathan Gannon, Zach Orr, Christian Parker, Charlie Bullen, and DeMarcus Covington have all joined the fold. Jeff Ulbrich hasn't because the Atlanta Falcons wouldn't let him, but this is one of those rare instances where the Cowboys deserve credit for simply trying as they attempted to interview him. This list is refreshing in a lot of ways. Quantitatively, we are already well above what the team looked into 2 years ago, but on the subject of numbers, the ages of these coaches matter as well. Ron Rivera was 62 years old in 2024. Rex Ryan was 61. Mike Zimmer was 67. Matt Eberflus is currently 55 years old. Heck, Dan Quinn was the youngest of all involved when he was hired in 2021, he was 50. Mike Nolan was 60 when Dallas hired him in parallel with Mike McCarthy, if you want me to keep going. Being older is not a bad thing, that's not the takeaway here. The takeaway is that it's a deviation from the norm. The Cowboys are trying something new and different. What is particularly impressive about this is that these are, with the exception of Aaron White-Cotton, who the team is also reportedly considering, outside and external names. The Cowboys have burned up benefit of the doubt for a lot of people and have a long way towards rebuilding trust, but this does seem like movement in the right direction. Now we just need to see who they pick. Cowboys could reset kicker market as Brandon Aubrey nears extension talks. Already in off-season mode, the Dallas Cowboys have a lot of decisions to make with pending free agents. Much of the attention has been focused on unrestricted free agents such as George Pickens, Javonte Williams, and Jadeveon Clowney. Dallas has said they want to find a way to bring each of those players back, and it would be nice to get deals done before free agency officially opens. As important as it is to lock up these 3, Dallas has a restricted free agent who has been even more vital to their success. Brandon Aubrey has become one of the best kickers in league history, and needs to be extended. Before free agency begins, ESPN's Todd Archer said he expects Aubrey to get a second-round tender, which would pay him roughly $6 million. The goal, however, should be an extension, which would make him the highest-paid kicker in the league. Since he was not drafted, All-Pro kicker Brandon Aubrey is likely to receive the second-round tender, which is projected to be a little more than $6 million. The Cowboys had talks with Aubrey's agent, Todd France, on a multi-year deal last summer but never got close, Archer wrote. Perhaps those get rekindled in the off-season, which could make Aubrey the highest-paid kicker in the NFL but with a cap number of less than $6 million for 2026. As a restricted free agent, Aubrey will be able to negotiate with other teams, even if he's given a tender. Dallas would be able to match any offer made, or they could let Aubrey leave and get a second-round pick, assuming that is indeed the tender, in return. A second-rounder might seem steep for a kicker, but a playoff team in need of stability, that has a late pick in round 2, might be willing to break the bank. That's why the best result for Dallas is getting something done before any other team can drive up his price. NFL two-time Pro Bowler could request trade after latest news. Following the news of Mike Tomlin stepping down, the Pittsburgh Steelers now face several question marks regarding the future, which may lead to top receiver DK Metcalf requesting a trade this offseason. Most dramatically, the Steelers will search for a new head coach for the first time in nearly 20 years. This puts a nail in the coffin that free agent veteran Aaron Rodgers won't return to Pittsburgh and may wind up joining another team for the 2026 season. There are 2 years left on his contract with the Steelers, but Metcalf might not be willing to wait around to stay with a team that's obviously going to rebuild. The Steelers originally traded for Metcalf to add some star power in their pass-catching unit. It was assumed to be Metcalf and George Pickens for the 2025 campaign before trading Pickens to Dallas. Despite the short suspension, Metcalf is still one of the best receivers in the league. The Steelers can't afford to waste his talents, especially if they need to find a new quarterback once Rodgers decides to find another team in August. The wide receiver should have plenty of trade interest even though he still has some years left on his current deal. It will be an interesting off-season for the Steelers as Metcalf won't be the only one with the question mark on his head. Here are a potential contender that could save him from Pittsburgh, which is clearly drowning. The Dallas Cowboys are always unpredictable, but predictable at the same time. This means that George Pickens could either sign elsewhere on a monster contract or Dallas may give him what he wants early, before free agency in March. It won't be an off-season without drama, so if Pickens decides to join another team, the Cowboys should get Metcalf in a trade from the Steelers. Dallas and Pittsburgh have been trade partners before in the Pickens trade, but the Cowboys might have to give up more to facilitate this move if Pickens doesn't return.